Alright guys, hopefully this is coming in okay. Here is how to know when to rebuild your brakes. When you go to change your brake pads, and you take the pads out, and you see these dust boots falling apart, it's time to change your pads, or time to change your dust boots. And while you're at it, change the seals. And if you look carefully in there, you'll see when you change your brake pads, you should also look to see how smoothly your pistons go in and out. Your piston should go in, and you should be able to, with two thumbs, squeeze the piston nice and smoothly in and out. If you can't get that to happen, your O-rings are bad. Here is the kit that you need for the front. Each one of these does one brake caliper. It does come with the O-rings, as you can see. So before you get started on the caliper, and before you take it out of the car, you need to take note of some things. This side is already done. If you look, you need to take note of the orientation of your brake line hose. So take note of that, and yeah. When you go to take your brake caliper off, take your brake line off first. Take this line off first. It's a 14. Save your O-ring, save your little crush washers off to the side and everything. Do not get any brake fluid on your paint. You will cry when you see what happens. So I'm actually changing my rotors as well. As you can see, they're toasted. This car actually had a brake fire at the track, so I'm gonna change my rotors out as well. They are trashed, unfortunately. I'll see if they can turn them and maybe get me one more use out of them, but I've got new stuff, and if anything, I can just use them as a backup. So you take the brake hose off first, then that's a 14, and then two 17mm bolts will come out. At that point, once you got your caliper out, you can disassemble it. I took the little pin retaining clip, removed it, and I took the top pin out, which releases the second shim, and the pads come out. As you can see, my pads failed. This is from a fire, actually. So unfortunately, those brakes didn't do well. Here's the brake hose, the cooling ducts that I did here. They failed before because they were on, they had just, the hose had just simply, it ovaled up, and it got thin like this, and then it folded over itself over the years. So what I did was I did safety wire, and I made the hose, and I basically stitched the hose. I don't know if you could see that at all, but I stitched the hose, and I used the safety wire to stitch through it and make it into a perfect circle, and then I hung it up. I'm hoping that keeps up a little bit better than the other way. Anyways, once you've got your caliper drained, watch out, there will be a lot of fluid that comes out of it. Drain it well. Your pistons will be out quite a bit. Don't squish them back in, because you're just going to have to take them back out. So what I did, you have to be very careful doing this, but as you can see, the wall here is the surface that moves. You do not want to scratch that or gouge it in any way. If you do, you're done. You need a new piston. And I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea where you're going to get a new piston. Here's how I got mine out. Since they were already extended from the pads failing, took my vice grips, made sure that was a gentle clamping force that was on these, and I went to the very tip, because this is not a moving surface, and then I slowly worked them out, making sure that it didn't twist a little bit and then possibly come in contact with the wall of the piston. So I got every one of them out, took the rings off actually just before doing that, and then from there, once I got them all out, man, there was all kinds of gunk coming out of these pistons from this well, from these chambers. So I went ahead and brake cleaned the whole thing, and waiting for that actually to dry out, to air out. While I'm waiting for that, I'm going to go ahead and get started on my piston seals. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. By the way, these are the caliper half O-rings that are so sought after. And the centric kit, it comes with them. So these are the dust boots. And this is the O-ring. I am going to save these little guys off to the side for future use. I'm sure it'll happen eventually. Anyways, here's the little lock rings that hold the dust boots on. These are your O-rings. You want to make sure that this is perfectly clean, so what you can do, you can take a Q-tip and go through it. I've already done that. I'm going to do it one more time with the paper towel just to be sure that everything's out. I fold it over into a little ridge, and I basically go through that, just making sure that all the little gunk has been cleaned out. You can see it's still pretty dirty. Hope you guys can see this. If not, then I won't even bother publishing this. So that side's clean. So then what I do, I've got my clean O-rings. They're brand new. I put one side in, and then I literally just go around. And you're going to notice it's going to like oval on you. Don't worry about it. It's going to fit. And then you look in, just make sure to go around it with your finger, and that'll smooth it and make sure that it's seated correctly. My kids could come out at any given time. So then here's this one. That one's done. Piece of cake. It's actually really not hard to do this. Some assembly oil. It's actually made by Centric. And then go around that. That's going to help with inserting the pistons to keep from scrubbing the seal. You don't want to scrub the seal on any O-ring. Time to move to the next side. Alright, 2 O-rings, checking them for cleanliness. And I'm going to stick them in. I already cleaned this, but I guess I should double check, make sure that this is clean. Good. Just a little bit of dirty oil at this point. Alright. So then we just slide the O-ring in. Really hope this is coming in for you guys. And then run your finger around, pressing pretty firmly actually, and that's going to help seat the seal. So you put the one end in, and then you just slowly work it all in, and then press it in there. So unfortunately for me, I'm gonna have to stop here because yeah, it used to say Supra. Unfortunately for me, I'm gonna have to stop here because my pistons are quite dirty. This one, actually, let's see here. There's the one that caught fire. There's one that actually you could see the fire damage. The O-ring, the dust boots, literally looked. Thank you so much, telemarketer. You could actually see the crumbled and crispy, toasted bits here. There's some of the bits right here. It just literally just turned to dust. It's insane. So hopefully I didn't just contaminate my gloves here, but yeah, the brakes unfortunately failed. So what I actually use brake fluid to clean this. Brake fluid, brake cleaner, it does help, but you want to make sure that the sliding section, or here's the one that caught on fire. So you can really see how the O-ring actually burned a ring onto this. So I'm gonna get some brake cleaner. I hate using brake cleaner in my garage because it stinks so, God, it's so awful. But boy, does it work. So basically just polishing this off. You don't want to take any like layers of material off. Brake cleaner is really good for this, obviously, given the name, but brake fluid is pretty strong as well. Probably going to delete this part of the video out just because it takes so long. But you want to make sure that every one of these is perfectly clean and smooth. The smoother they are, the smoother your brakes are going to function. You think, oh yeah, I'll just push the brake a little harder. Well, it's not that simple. The piston retracts away from the rotor and away from the pad each time you let off the pedal, and that's actually part of why you have vacuum on your system. So here's one done. Put the little boot on. Okay. Now we're gonna clean it up really good, make sure it's nice and clean, and we insert it. Giggity. So do a little line of oil, go around, but most importantly is getting this edge actually right here, because that's where it has to clear the seal while the seal is unsupported by the actual piston. So here we go. So what I do is I place it in there, then I rotate it left and right to help it seat, and then gently press it in. So, just slides in. If your pistons don't slide that smoothly when you're changing your brake pads, then it's time to rebuild your brakes. It's a life lesson of mine. I had my brakes fail on my M5 doing a track day. So then, next up is this. This is a little retaining clip. You can pretty much orient this whichever way you like, whichever way is comfortable. Just don't forget, you're gonna have to take it off one day, so don't put it on in some like really awkward position. And then what I do, I take my little pick and I just make sure that it's seated all the way down. There we go, there's one piston done. Alright, so just gotta clean this up. This one is going to be a bear to clean because honestly, it caught fire as it was part on the same side as that pad fire.